This is ground control to Major Rob. How's everything looking out there?
Looking good, Mission Control. All but this strange debris floating around out here. Huh. So that's where he went.
So how are those new spacesuits working out for you?
Pretty awesome, ground control. How'd you make these?
We had our top secret designers, Ruffeo Hearts Lil Snotty, make them. Transmitting that video over to you now.
Copy that.
Yo. What's up, little doggies? We are Ruffeo Hearts Lil Snotty. Been in the game for a couple years. Anti-fashionistas, upcycling, really just trying to provide a helping hand to the handmade movement.
We're just turning trash into gold.
What are we gonna be making, Snotty?
The winter staple, a hoodie.
Yo, coming straight from the gourmet hoodie experts, we're gonna do it a little bit with a twist. That means we're going to make a super awesome spacesuit hood.
To make this hoodie, you need a few materials. You're gonna need a pencil and paper to draw your design. You're gonna need a seam ripper to take your sweatshirts apart, some scissors or a rotary knife, and I like to use chalk as well.
I don't.
The pattern is pretty simple. You're gonna have three main pieces, which is the body, the sleeve pattern, and the hood pattern.
And finally, two disgustingly ugly vintage sweatshirts. So we like to start with a flat in order to have a map to keep everything organized. The idea behind this hoodie is two tones, tastefully arranged. The hood and the front are gonna be the same color, and the sleeves and the back are gonna be the same color. So once you've laid out your color palette, you know which waistband you need to rip off with the seam ripper and which waistband you can simply snip. So seam rip away from yourself. Get between the two pieces of fabric. I like to seam rip from the outside so I can see what I'm doing, so I don't cut anything. And once you've got about 2 to 3 inches started, rip it with your hands.
So for this hoodie that we're gonna use for the body and the hood, we're just gonna cut the waistband off. You wanna cut as close to the seam as possible to save as much length.
Okay, so we're basically preparing our source fabric. We're just gonna chop off the sleeves, make a little hole, get your scissors in, and cut just one layer at a time so you make sure you're not taking too much off the bottom without realizing it.
When picking sweatshirts for your project, it's gonna be easiest to work with the largest sweatshirts you can find.
After you have gotten your waistband and arms off, the next step is cutting the front and the back.
So you wanna place your pattern on the back of the sweatshirt however it fits. Grab some pattern weights or anything heavy just so the pattern doesn't move around. So once you have your chalk outline on the hoodie, you want to cut along that line. Now you have the front of your hoodie.
I don't like to spend the time to draw, so I just rock the cutting mat, and the rotary knife. It involves a little bit of preparation, which is chopping up your sides. You want to use always the longest side of the hoodie, it's the back. You lay it out flat, smooth it out. You're going to use the front of your hoodie pattern to cut the back. It's going to be almost exactly the same copy except for the neckline, so pay close attention. Cut away from yourself when using a rotary knife. The back comes up a little bit higher, right? It's not gonna be this swoop that you have in the front. So for the back cut, just do a slight arc, shoulder to shoulder. Y'all see what I'm saying there? You got a little bit of a higher line. This is your back piece. This is your front. Moving right along. We are seam ripping the bottom of the sleeve all the way down to the cuff.
And usually once you get it started, you can just rip the seam open.
Another RHLS time-saving secret is going good side to good side, or the smooth outer shell to the smooth outer shell. This is to make sure that you are having exactly symmetrical sleeves. Grab your sleeve pattern, register it in the middle,
And weigh it down.
grab your rotary knife, and chop these babies up. Fresh like, sleeve numero uno, sleeve numero dos.
What if I told you that the future of your dreams can be found today, if you know where to look? Join me in amazement as we discover incredible inventions brought to us by science and technology.
WePCTV is brought to you by ASUS and Intel. You dream it, ASUS builds it, Intel inside.
Your style, your hands. You're watching Threadbanger.
So the next step is your hood. And this hood is going to be kind of like a space helmet. You're going to need 4 of these pieces. 2 for the external hood and 2 for the liner.
I'm gonna fold my excess body material. This is the front of the first sweatshirt we cut up in half, lining up the seams or whatever point of reference you have. Once you've got your hoodie pattern down, you got some weights on it, you're ready to cut it out.
Now you want to do the exact same thing, but for the liner. We're going to use the front of the pink sweatshirt.
Once again, make sure you're lining up your piece of fabric exactly, edge to edge, because that way you know you're not going to be suddenly missing a little part of your hood. Now that you have all your pieces together, we are ready to sew. The order of operations is sew the shoulders together first. Bangerade. Now take your sleeve, this is what it looks like, right? You can kind of imagine that. Just pick it up, flip it upside down, good side to good side, and register your pin with your seam, and you're gonna start at this point. Make sure everything's laying flat and naturally. Check out that your armpit is matching up about the time you get to the middle. You can definitely use a regular sewing machine. Totally rocks for a straight stitch. We just like to get industrial around these parachute parts. And repeat to the other side.
Now that the sleeves are on, you're gonna sew up your sides. You wanna turn it inside out. You wanna pin the 2 armpit sleeves. And we're gonna sew from the wrist to the armpit and down the edge of the body. So once you have this side sewn up, you wanna repeat the same thing with the other side.
Here's our first taste. Now we're gonna put the waistband on. We do about 3 inches off, so it's nice and fitted, and open up the sides. Prepare this guy good side to good side once again. And take it over to your straight stitch machine. We're gonna sew this waistband into a loop. This is how it's going to be looking in the end. Line up your edge here, put your hands through, grab the edge, flip it, grab it, pull it, and just pin your seam here, pinning it against the side seam, and pin it over here on the opposite side so you've got equal distribution of the stretch. And we're ready to serge the waistband on. Whenever you're dealing with a stretchy fabric, you want to do a little bit of stretching the whole time you sew.
Now that your body is together, you can make your hood. You want to take your pieces, lay them out good side to good side. We're gonna sew along this seam here, and then we're gonna sew this seam here to make the turtleneck cowl. And you're gonna do the same thing with your liner. Now you need to line them together to make one hood. You put one hood inside of the other.
Notice you're putting the shell into the inside out liner.
So make sure that all of your seams line up. You want the front seam to line up, the bottom and the back, and you can pin those seams in place. You're gonna wanna sew along this edge here.
And now you have a hood. You're gonna pull it right side out.
And then flip it back inside of itself.
Flip it around, hit it on the table a bunch. Sewing it on. Pins just for marking at this time. The way I find those points is by folding in half, lining up the shoulder seams. You've got 2 creases. Pop a pin in here, pop a pin in here, and we've got this marked by the center seam. You've got your 2 points of reference. You know your gray's the front, so keep that in mind, and then simply turn your sweatshirt inside out, cut your little hole here, take your hood, stick it into the hole, making sure the front is pointing towards the front, line up your 2 pins, and pin them together. You got your back neck area, and you got the back of your hoodie. Pin those 2 guys together. And now we are ready to attach the neck. Yes, you can see extra well through the eyes of Ruffeo. I'm a little bit excited here, folks. Just in time for the chilly season. Nice! Well, we'll see you next time on Threadbanger. We're not going anywhere. Have a wonderful chilly season and keep it raw.
Ground control to Major Rob. Did you copy all that?
Copy, ground control. Great tutorial.
Yeah, Major, we have an unidentified flying object that we just picked up on radar. Do you have a visual?
Affirmative. Affirmative, ground control. It appears to be a Threadbanger Janoni sewing machine. What's one of those doing all the way out here?
It seems like everyone in the universe has got one now, Major. All they gotta do is go to threadbanger.com to get one. Over.
Copy that, ground control. Are we ready to re-enter the atmosphere? It's getting a little chilly out here.
That's a big negative, Major Rob. You're stuck out there till next week.
Next week?
Yep. See you then. Over.